Let us discuss sensitivity analysis in linear programming. So before we start, as we know, this is the generalized problem formulation for LPP, in which we want to maximize our objective function as given, subjected to various other constraints. All of them are linear equations, so that's why it is a LP problem. This particular format, which we have done earlier as well, we are going to write in terms of vectors and matrices. So we are going to get a very short format. That short format is maximization of function is equals to, say, Z is equals to C transpose X. C is the column vector of cost coefficients. X is a column vector of variables subject to AX is equals to B, and all X is greater than 0, non-negativity condition. So X, B, C are the column vector and A is the matrix, coefficient matrix, which we have discussed earlier. So in sensitivity analysis, let us discuss one by one. So number of basic solution will be equal to the number of equality constraints. So currently it is J. Number of non-basic variables will become n minus j. So let us divide these variables into two sets. One is called basic, another is called non-basic. So the vector x, which is a column vector, is equals to xb. So this will be the set of basic variables. Xn will be the set of non-basic variables, and then we take a transpose. So in the last problem, for example, if suppose we have x1, x2, and x5 as basic variable, so that comes under xb. However, x3 and x4 were non-basic variable, that will come under xn. Also, let us partition the matrix as well. Since you know in simplex method, we have columns corresponding to each variable. So if we put all those columns, if we divide those columns into two parts, so we have a B. This matrix contains columns of basic variables and N contains columns of non-basic variable. So in the previous problem, if you put these column x1, x2, and x5 together, that will become B matrix, and then you include x3 and x4, that will become, so the columns corresponding to x3 and x4 will become the columns of N. Similarly, the cost vector is also split into basic and non-basic part. So the LP problem, the short form which we have gone through in the last slide, now we are rewriting the same set of LPP in terms of basic and non-basic part. As you can see that CB transpose XB, this means it is going to give me the dot product of the cost coefficient of basic variable with the variables with the basic variable. Similarly, plus CN transpose XN. Now the whole equation, the set of constraints which we were writing earlier as AX is equals to B, now we are converting this into two form, such as Bxn plus n times of xn. So B matrix is multiplied by the set of basic variables and n matrix is multiplied by the set of non-basic variables equals to the right hand side B. And both basic and non-basic should be non-negative. Now, if suppose I'm looking for a solution, so what I can do, you see this particular constraint equation. So I'm looking for a xb value. Why? Because xn means set of non-basic variables are already 0. So in that case, we can do, we can multiply it by, say, B inverse into this. So B inverse B xb plus B inverse n xn is equals to B inverse P. So if we take the term from left hand side to the right hand side, you can see the basic variable set becomes xb is equals to B inverse B minus B inverse n of xn. Similarly, If I include this XB value, which we find out in the last slide, let us include in our objective function. So since the objective function is already written in two forms, we are including the value of XB. By simplifying that, you can see that we have the constant thing. So basically CB transpose B inverse B plus there are the term inside the bracket that is multiplied by xn. Now this xn is the set of non-basic variable. Now you can see that if any set of xn, if this particular part which is given in the bracket, so let us come to the point, second point, say C bar transpose is equals to the terms which are written in the bracket if it is greater than 0. This means that the non-basic variables can be increased from 0 to some value so that it will improve the objective function value z. So we can say the solution cannot be optimal. This is exactly the same situation when we talk about the optimality condition. So the optimality condition says that the delta FQ value, if it is positive, then there will be some set of there will be a non-basic variable that will become basic and enter into the table. So this is the same situation, same condition we can see here. But if this C bar transpose is smaller than 0, smaller than and equals to 0, this means that the objective, so we have reached to the optimum solution and the objective function is CB transpose inverse B. This is, you can correlate with the termination condition of the simplex method. So in the previous short form, we consider AX equals to B. Now we can have inequality constraints. So let us take a simple case of AX smaller than equal to B. So all constraints are of smaller than and equal to B type. In this case, if I have to, first I have to convert this set of equations into the equality constraints. So we need to add a slack variable which is written as X S transpose, which belongs to the real space of N, real space of J. Now why it is J? Because the maximum slack variable you can include that depends on the number of constraints, that is J. Now if I am going to write a starting simplex table, you can have, let me start with the second row. So you have basic. The first we will be writing all the set of basic variable. Then we are writing set of all non-basic variables. And then we are writing all slack variable. You remember that for all the if all the constraints are smaller than equal to type, as we have considered, we always start with the slack variable. So the column under basic, you can see that we have a starting solution from all basic solution and their corresponding coefficient on the objective function is 0. Now look at the first row. As you can make it out that we have already divided the cost coefficient for basic, non-basic, and the cost coefficient for the slack is 0. Now if we are going to find a delta FQ value, before that, let us discuss the third row. In the third row, so we know that the B will be representing the columns corresponding to the basic variable, then similarly N for non-basic, and I is the identity matrix. So this is what we called as a row echelon form. In this particular case, we have this right hand side as B. Now if I'm going to calculate the delta FQ value, so you know that it is CB. So we don't calculate for the basic, we always calculate for the non-basic. So currently basic is a slack variable. So the set of non-basic includes XB and XN. So how I'm calculating CB transpose minus 0 multiplied by B. So 0. So that's why delta FQ for XB is CB and CN for non-basic, and 0 we don't have to calculate for the slack variable. Objective function value is 0. Why? Because looking at the cost coefficient 0 multiplying with the right hand side b going to give me 0. So this representation is easy to understand. Let in the final iteration of simplex method, xb is the set of basic variables, xs and xn are included in the non-basic, and this is what we did in the simplex method. So if I have to make xb as a basic variable, what I need to do is under xb, look at the third column. Under xb, the columns corresponding to the basic variable should become identity matrix, columns of the identity matrix. It can only possible if I multiply this particular third row with B inverse. So that's why, so I'm going back again. So this table, so if I'm going to multiply, so B inverse B for XB, B inverse N for XN, B inverse for XS, and for the right hand side, it is B inverse B. So exactly the same thing I have written. So under XB row, I, identity matrix, B inverse N, B inverse and B inverse B. Now, since we have done it, so you can see the cost coefficient of XB, CB is written in the first column. Now let us again find the delta FQ value. So we have to calculate only for non-basic variable. So as you know, Cn, look at the top, Cn transpose minus CB B inverse N. This is what we are doing. And similarly, for the slack variable, it is minus CB transpose B inverse. And if I have to find the function value, so we know that the first column of CB multiplied by B inverse B, that is the right hand side column, and we are going to get a function value. So this is exactly the same operations which we did it with the simplex method. Now, the condition is if I'm going to find the basic solution, now I'm making XB as a basic solution. So this should be feasible. So in that case, XB is equals to B inverse B. So as you remember that second column and the right hand side column. So XB is B inverse B. This is the solution. This should be greater than 0. If it is greater than or equals to 0, non-negativity is satisfied. And what is the optimality condition? So the optimality condition for maximization problem is that not a single non-basic variable has a delta FQ value positive. So in this case, what you can see C and so the particular factor which is written under the XN column, so that has to be smaller than or equals to 0, meaning there is no entering non-basic variable. So if it is this case, so we know that the objective function Z, as I have told you earlier, which you can find at the right hand side corner, that CB transpose B inverse B. Now just look at this factor where we are saying optimality condition. Cn transpose minus CB transpose B inverse N. Now if I go back, this is exactly the same thing we did it. Look at the top, that C bar transpose, this is the same equation. So if it is greater than 0, this means we have to go from iteration 1 to iteration 2 because there is some non-basic variable in the simplex table that can further improve the objective function. But as soon as it is smaller than or equals to 0, then we have reached to the optimum solution. So same set of equations you can see in both the slides. Now let us perform the sensitivity analysis for linear programming. So the set of matrices, vectors, which we have seen in the previous slides, that will be used here. Now the sensitivity, generally we do it by changing the constant parameters in the table. So x1, x2, all these xp, xn or xs, these are decision variables. Apart from that, we are talking about the constant parameters. So what are the constant parameter? So first is the sensitivity of the optimum solution with the change in the right hand side. So you know the right hand side is a constant parameter for us. So if we change it, how it is going to change our optimum solution. Similarly, the sensitivity with respect to the change in the cost coefficient. So that is the another that is another constant parameter. We change it. So matrix A we don't change. Only these two coefficients we change here. Let us start with sensitivity with respect to the right hand side of the coefficient. Suppose the right hand side of the jth constraint is changed to bj plus delta bj. So delta bj is added into bj. So this delta bj can take plus value as well as minus value. Within what range the basic variable xb remains feasible? So when we perform sensitivity analysis with respect to the right hand side coefficient, we always see how much change we can perform in the right hand side so that the set of basic variables remain feasible. So in that case, the new right hand side, so it should be written as RHS is b plus delta b. New solution is xb is equals to b inverse. Now this is small b has been changed, so b plus delta b. So the condition is that solution will remain feasible when xb is greater than and equals to 0. So if I'm putting xb is equals to b minus inside the bracket b plus delta b greater than 0, after simplification, you will get to know that xb is xb old, which we calculated earlier using say simplex method, plus b inverse delta b. Now point is, what is b inverse? So b inverse we already calculated in our optimum simplex table. So the coefficient, column coefficient corresponding to the slack variables are b inverse. So let me go back. Now you see the column corresponding to xs, which is slack variable, you can find which is b inverse. So if I'm using the simplex method, the optimum simplex method, the optimal simplex table will already give me b inverse. So I don't have to calculate otherwise. So this b inverse, if I multiply it with the change, I can see whether this new change will make our solution feasible or not. So the same example, the first example which we took, both the constraints are smaller than type. When we solve it, we get the optimal simplex table as given here. Now x1 and x2 are basic, x3 and x4 are slack variable. So you can make it out that the coefficient under x3 and x4, which are 1, 0, minus 0.5 and 0.5, are going to be b inverse for us. So xb, the solution is 6 and a 2, and b inverse is as I told you earlier. Now check the feasibility condition, that is xb old plus b inverse delta b. If I put all these values, so xb old is already 6 and a 2, b inverse, so that is not plus, it should be the multiplication. So consider this as a multiplication. So it will give me 6 plus delta b1, and in the second row 2 minus delta b1 divided by 2 plus delta b2 divided by 2. That should always be greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0. So after simplification, so we have two equations. So we simplify it. So it will say that delta b1 should be greater than and equal to minus 6, or delta b2 is equals to minus 4 plus delta b1. So if I assume that there is no change in the delta b2, then what will be the corresponding change in delta b1? So I will include the value. It says that delta b1 is lying between minus 6 and a 4. So I suggest you to do the same calculation by your hand, and then you will get that by considering delta b2 equals to 0, then delta b1 will be lying minus 6 and a 4. This says that if the range is lying in this case, then our set of basic variable will remain feasible. If I have to find what is the range of b1, so you remember b1 was 6, so I will add 6. So minus 6 plus 6, b1 plus delta b1 is smaller than equals to 4 plus 6. So that's why if I change b1 from 0 to 10, our set of basic variables, that is x1 and x2, will remain the same. Now let us determine now for this particular condition, when you have b1 lying between 0 to 10, b2 is 10. So there is no change in B2. So what will be our optimum solution? So you know that optimum solution is going to change it. How? So in case 1, XB is B inverse B. So this formula I can use it directly. B inverse we already calculated, and then B if we have to write it. So I'm writing 0. Why? Because the minimum value of B1 is 0, and 10. Why? Because B2 is 10. Then the right hand side vector will become 0 and a 5, and the function value will be 15. Similarly, if I have to take B1 is equals to 10, so the case 2 will become, so B inverse 10 and 10. You can see this particular column vector. So this will become 10 and a 0, and the function value is 20. So in this case, if we are going to change B1 from 0 to 10, our objective function value will change from 15 to 20. Now I'm introducing an important parameter, which is called Lagrange multiplier. This Lagrange multiplier for constraint 1. So this is always, so Lagrange multipliers are always corresponding to the constraints. So for constraint 1, this says that the change in the function value divided by change in the right hand side. So as you can see, if I take the original value 18 minus this 15, I get it from case 1. Originally B1 was 6, and in case 1 it is reduced to 0. So it gives me 0.5. Now note that if I assume that delta B1 is tends to 0, so this delta F by delta B1 will become dou F by dou B1. So this is how the Lagrangian multiplier can be calculated. Just for your information, the Lagrange multiplier is also known as unit worth of resource, dual or shadow price of a constraint. So these Lagrange multipliers will be useful when we will be discussing the constraint optimization. Similarly, for constraint 2, the Lagrange multiplier will be delta F by delta B2. Now come to the sensitivity with respect to the cost term. Now let us assume that the basic variable, the cost of the basic variable, those terms has been changed to CB plus delta CB. Similarly, the non-basic, we have changed CN plus delta CN. We are changing in such a way that we don't want to change the optimum solution. So remember that whatever the optimum solution in the previous case, for example, 6 and a 2, that we don't want to change. So what should be the range of this change in the cost coefficient? Now this optimality condition C bar T we have already used, that should be smaller than 0, meaning that if I am going to change the cost coefficient of basic and non-basic variable, then you remember that we generally calculate delta FQ value. If delta FQ value is always smaller than 0, then there will be no entering variable. Since there will be no entering variable, so that says that our optimum solution will not change. In this case, if we follow this condition as it is given as C bar transpose, now let us include the change. So the cost coefficient with respect to the non-basic, cost coefficient corresponding to the basic minus B inverse N should be smaller than 0. So let us take an example here. So CN transpose, so cost coefficient corresponding to non-basics, it is 0. Why? That is, this example is the same what we have solved just before for the sensitivity with right hand side. So non-basic variables were x3 and x4, and their cost coefficient were 0 and a 0. So that's why it is written there. Minus 2 plus delta C1 plus 3 plus delta C2. Now you remember that basic variables are x1 and x2. Their cost coefficient were 2 and a 3. So we have included some changes here. And B inverse we have already calculated. So B inverse N we have written here. So this B inverse N we can find it from the simplex table. So here since we don't have any we don't have any non-basic variable, what we have is the slack variable. So same B inverse we have taken here. and that should be smaller than 0. If we simplify this one, we are going to get two equations that says that delta C1 should be greater than 0.5 times of delta C2 minus 0.5, and delta C2 should be greater than minus 3. Now, similar to the previous case, if we want, what we can do, we assume that delta C2 is 0. And what is the range of delta C1 or C1? That gives me the range that if I'm going to change C1 from this limit to that limit, our optimum solution will not change. So with this, I'm concluding this chapter on linear programming. So what we have gone through in this chapter is the concept of linear programming, understanding the slack variables, artificial variables, and row echelon form. So those we have understood it. Thereafter, we understood how simplex method work. So when all of the constraints are smaller than an equal to type, you can use simplex method. But as and when you have greater than equal to type or equality constraint in your problem formulation, you have to use dual simplex method. And in that dual simplex method, the phase 1 will find the starting basic feasible solution for phase 2. And then we perform the sensitivity analysis. So in sensitivity with respect to the change in the right hand size and sensitivity with respect to the change in the cost coefficient, we have understood it. So the overall objective of linear programming, understanding the linear programming, is that we are going to use the simplex method for solving non-linear programming after approximation first. Second, we have gone through the sensitivity analysis that we will be doing with the non-linear programming problems. So in that case, that Lagrangian multiplier will help us to understand the sensitivity analysis. Why? Because the Lagrangian multiplier will become dou f by dou x, dou f by dou b1. So that is corresponding to constraint 1. Similarly, constraint 2 and a 3, we can find the Lagrangian multiplier. So with this, let us finish this chapter on linear programming.